Cleaning the Floor. I'm here with Mohan Rao. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you for having me here.
Sure. Well, we'd love to hear about your startup experience.
Great. My startup is called Storytruck. It's an online destination for children for reading and sharing stories. It's called a social storytelling platform. What we do is we have storybooks, digital picture books online for kids, and you can read and share stories with families, friends, and everybody. So it's making storytelling a more social, like it's in real life.
Great. And how did you come up with an idea like this and take the courage to go and leap into this challenge?
Excellent question. I think it's some of my own frustration. I have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, two boys, and I've seen that they always go on the computer and start playing games or watch videos online. And I wanted to see that they could read or listen to storybooks rather than just be playing games all the time. And I tried to find online websites where we could get stories and stuff. It was very hard to find, and if there were sites, they were filled with advertisements that kids could just wander out of the website that I intended to. So I couldn't leave my children safely online for a few minutes that they could enjoy real stories. So I thought, there is some value here, some space here that I could explore, and that's how I thought about this idea.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of personal motivation behind it.
Definitely. I think, and I ran this idea through a few entrepreneurs, through successful entrepreneurs, from some of my friends, and it seemed like it had some legs, and that's how I started. So I built a prototype before I jumped in completely, spent about $1,000, got a nice prototype built, and showed it around to people, and everybody seemed to love it. They said, "This is awesome. This is something that is going to be useful." And think of it as when grandparents read stories for you, and you can save them as treasure for your life.
Wow.
Even when they don't exist anymore, your children can actually keep those as safe treasures.
Wow.
So I think it's a wonderful space to be in.
That's great, and it sounds like you got the advice from a lot of people around you. What type of mentors did you have, and how did they help shape and influence your decision making?
I think that's a very important thing that I've been following entrepreneurship and reading articles, Stanford lectures, one of those things wherein entrepreneurs speak a lot and every week, and TIE itself, wherein I have a lot of friends and entrepreneurs who have sold their companies successfully. So I spoke to them. And just to get a validation of the idea and business models that we could develop and stuff. And they helped me a lot in putting this idea together. Jay Rawat, who's the CEO of this the conference here this time, he's a good friend of mine, and I spoke to him about the idea, approached him and said, "This is the idea, how do you think about it?" And so he gave me a few tips on exploring the market aspects of it, publishing aspects of it, and learn the whole area before I could actually jump in. And I bought a few books online and started reading about the whole publishing industry, how the whole thing works, who gets paid when, who's how the publishers will be willing to approach this problem. And I attended a few trade conferences in Washington, D.C., and New York actually, and got to know the whole space before I actually jumped in, because I don't have a publishing background, so it made it a little harder before I could think about this.
Okay, well, it sounds like you have a lot of self-motivated experience, and you've gone out there and been very proactive about getting this experience. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs out there on how to start a business, especially in your sector?
I think one of the biggest things that the entrepreneurs could do is to learn about the problem domain before they jump in. They could identify a problem that, hey, this is a real problem that I could solve, but you got to go do some work in the background before you can actually jump in. You have to understand the market space, who's actually controlling the market, how things work revenue-wise and business models and everything, and then think about building a prototype, getting it validated before you can actually make the big move. Because especially quitting your job and doing this full-time, not everybody can do it, but if you are really willing to do it, make sure you explore this before you can jump in.
Okay, and to wrap up, I'm sure that you've had some successes, some failures, some hard times. What advice would you give entrepreneurs who are struggling and having a hard time with their startups on how to turn that around and succeed?
I've always had this, sometimes I feel like I've hit a roadblock and I can't find my way out. And what I try to do is I try to reach out to people who have succeeded and who can give me a good advice. I just go find people on LinkedIn and try to ask them and say, I want to connect with you, I want some advice on such and such thing. For now I'm looking for some help on marketing. How do I approach people? What's the best way to market Storytruck? and TIE is a very good place for me. I approach people and ask them to help me out. And to be honest, people are very willing to help you if you ask them sincerely. So they can make time. They meet me for coffee. They are CEOs of different companies. They don't have a lot of time. But if you tell them I'm an entrepreneur, I want to do this one, and I need your help in this one, they are willing to make some time.
Well, great. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you.